What is up, YouTube? Salty Texas back with another bowl project, and today we are doing neon color pencils. Couldn't figure out a good intro for this one, so I think I threw these on the table about 4 or 5 times before I just decided to quit. So using Crazy Art neon colored pencils, there was a sale at the Walmart when school started and just decided to pick these up. I've done a pencil bowl in the past. This is actually the third iteration of pencil bowls that I've done. You saw the regular Crayola one that I did a little bit earlier, but this one looked a little bit more crazy, and I'm going to say this one definitely turns out a little bit cooler just because the colors are so awesome. So same thing as we did the last time, took everything out of the box, and now we're just taking over to the bandsaw and getting these things cut down to a nice small little manageable size so we can just dip them in resin. And try not to cut off my fingers. You can see my finger is still trying to heal at this particular point. You guys are probably watching this in April, but long story short, the finger does heal. So went ahead, built me a waste block, got some of these colored neon pencils all cut down, and now we're just pouring them into the small little container that we're going to pour the resin into. And what had happened was I ended up not putting enough colored pencils in, so I just came back, hit them with some more, and then I kind of mess up during the resin pour. You won't see that particular portion of this one, but I ended up not having enough resin, and I wish I would have put more resin in. This would have been a larger project, but you can see here, didn't fill it up quite all the way. So here we are trying to get everything out of the little pint bucket. Trying to save these buckets, by the way. Usually one and done is the philosophy for these things, but you know what, if we get a clear casting, typically I try to save it and reuse it for another project. But here we are on the struggle bus trying to get it out, and then we eventually do, and you can see here where we did not have enough epoxy. So you can see where the epoxy kind of ended, and all those cool pencils on the top we're just going to have to unfortunately waste because I didn't pour enough epoxy. I'm sorry. We'll do better in the next project. And this one's a little bit more unique for me. I've seen other woodworkers and woodturners use super glue, not super glue, this is hot glue on a glue gun to put face plates on. And I typically will use 15-minute epoxy with my face plates, but I was kind of impatient and I was like, I see everybody else doing this. Why couldn't this work? Because in my head I was like, hot glue, isn't as strong as epoxy. So I'm going, because my biggest fear was the fact that I was going to do this and then it was going to fly off the lathe. But surprisingly, it didn't fly off the lathe. I'd like to think that as I've gotten a little bit better at wood turning, that I haven't had anything fly off the lathe in a very long time, which is good. And now that I've said that, I've totally jinxed myself and I'm going to have a catastrophic accident. Hopefully not, though. So I used the glue gun, hot glue gun, got the faceplate on, and I meant to turn the camera on, but for some reason, I think there's so much dust in my camera that it's just kind of finicky. You didn't get the actual part where I turned down the leftover wood pencils. So got that all done and taken care of, and then we just hit it with a handsaw, getting everything nice and even, and just getting rid of the waste before we actually start the turning down process on this particular one. And then I had so much success with that first use of the hot glue, I came back and attached the other opposite end of the faceplate using the same technique. So now that I know that this works, I'm actually just going to start doing this a lot more and save that 15-minute epoxy for when I actually need it. So hey, let me tell you, hot glue will work and it will attach, and you can put that on a lathe project and it not fly off. So just in case you were curious, because I wasn't a believer until I tried it. But you got to try new techniques, and that's what learning is all about. So now we're just getting that waste block done. You can see that popped off. We had a little bit of glue that was left over, and that comes off fairly easy. All you got to do is just hit it with a chisel and it'll just come off like hot glue. LOL. Anyway, so now we're just turning it down, getting everything into a nice cylindrical shape. We're getting pretty good shavings. Oh, by the way, if I didn't mention it before, we're using Fama wood epoxy on this particular project. Really like this epoxy. Like I said in several other videos, wasn't a big believer in it, but it actually turns really well on the lathe. So you can pick that up at Lowe's, Home Depot, and maybe even Hobby Lobby carries it. Walmart carries it in smaller batches. So now that we got everything nice and cylindrical, now we're just getting everything in the nice shape that we want before we flip it and make the mortise on this particular end of the project. So getting good shavings, you can see that there's a nice little mess everywhere on my workbench, but overall not having any chipping or anything like that, and I love when I hit it with a round carbide tool and make everything nice and even. So here we are on the bottom end of it, making the mortise, going through that nice pine board, and it's cutting through like butter. And I initially thought that I made I thought the gap for the tannin, not the tannin, for the mortise was too deep, but just ended up taking the square carbide tool and making it a little bit more less shallow, so that the chuck can attach to it nice and evenly. And now we're just hitting up the finer edges on it right here. So everything's nice and fit, nice and snug. Got it flipped over, got it on the chuck, and now we're just doing the same thing essentially on the other side, taking that waste block, just getting that nice end of the lip of the bowl nice and even before we start the actual gouging process. And I love hitting those pine boards from the side, coming at it from a side angle. I think you get less vibration on that, and less chatter with it. So essentially the same thing, hitting with a round carbide, making everything nice and even, and then I'm going to come back with a handsaw and just take that off. So once we did that, now the fun part of the gouging starts. And using the pine board as a waste block, everything went relatively smooth up until this point. So we used the just regular gouging, bowl gouge, got everything nice and even, and then we took the square carbide tool and really hung on the side of that lip of the bowl, made everything nice and even, trying to make as much room in the bowl as, or a pot. I guess this is more of a cup than a pot, but everything coming out nice, smooth, and even. And then you can see the cool colors we're going to get here in a minute when we start the actual sanding process. And I did come back and I hit it with a round carbide tool a few times on the inside. So went all the way up from 340 all the way up to 1500. Since there was a lot of crayon involvement and color, I didn't want to ruin the micro mesh pads. And when you go from 340 up to 1500, you will generally get a nice clean shine, and you'll see that here in just a little bit. So got everything sanded down all the way up to 1500. Came back, hit it with that wood wax that we love so much on this channel, and really going to make that color pop at the end of this particular project. And there it is. The sun wasn't out. I ended up filming this part early in the morning in the garage, but you don't see a lot of the color, but you will on the outro portion of it. Really fun project to do. Had a lot of fun doing it. Next time we're going to make definitely a larger pot, but small incremental steps. Hope you guys enjoyed this project. Don't forget to subscribe. Hope everybody's doing well out there, and I'll see you guys in the next project. Peace. Okay, so project is done. You kinda think this one's pretty good. Sorry about the outro on this particular one. It's super windy. You probably could hear the wind rustling in the back. It's totally destroying the audio on this, but this one turned out really well. This is actually I like this one better than my other pencil bowl that I did. Not that that one wasn't good, but I think the neon colors definitely does a little something extra on this particular one. But overall, real nice little project. Didn't have a lot of problems with it. Used a glue gun for the attachment for the faceplate for the first time. So it was really good. I really like this little guy. So there he is, little neon colored pencil bowl in resin. Today is actually November 8th. You guys are probably watching this in April. But hope you guys liked it. Hope you enjoyed the project. Don't forget to subscribe, all that good fun shit that I always talk about. And I'll see you guys in the next project. All right, bye. See you guys later.